Welcome to You with Intention. I'm your host, Cassandra, and this is the podcast where we help you move from mindset into embodiment with real talk, rituals, and soul aligned structure that helps you live your life and your purpose with intention. I'm excited to dive into today's episode because I think it's a topic that is going to become a pillar for all of our health in the upcoming years, if it's not already in your life. And that is really controlling the amount of toxins that we expose ourselves to every day and what we allow in our homes, on our bodies, in our bodies. Karen Bloom is the founder of Natural Haven. She's a consultant and a mom who helps families and individuals create healthy, non-toxic environments in their homes so they can have peace of mind and live vibrant, healthy lives. She created Natural Haven to share all that she learned on her own personal health journey and to help people eliminate the anxiety and the guesswork from curating a natural, low-tox living space that supports your health. So I'm excited to dive into all of the tips and the wisdom that Karen has for us today. I learned so much in this episode, and I was so inspired to start detoxing my home and my products. So I know you're going to love it too. Let's dive in.
Yay! Well, Karen, I am so excited that we finally have you on the podcast after you being so patient with all of my rescheduling and figuring out my postpartum swing. But I'm super excited to have you on for multiple reasons. One, because I think all of us, Karen founded Natural Haven and she consults with people on how to detoxify their homes and live, a toxin-free life. And I read about how your journey also started through you having your own health issues. And the listeners on this podcast know I went through mold poisoning and I have a lot of sensitivities and all of that. So I'm right there with you. So let's just dive in. What inspired you to, really create this business and then I want to hear all the tips too.
Great. And I'm sorry that you've been through it because it's really hard. Yeah.
It's really gnarly. And I think if you haven't been through it, it's sometimes hard to recognize how gnarly it is. Because I think I read in your journey as well. I think one of the hard parts of whether it's mold poisoning or some of these environmental sensitivities that I think are popping up more and more these days is that it can kind of show up as a mystery illness and nobody knows what box to put you in or how to help you. So what was your experience with that?
Yeah. So I started out as a consumer products attorney uh, in my career, and I was at a law firm in Washington, D.C. I was bringing suits against big manufacturing companies that were putting chemicals and toxins into everyday products without alerting consumers or warning them about the adverse health effects. So, for instance, I sued a major uh, manufacturer of nonstick cookware for putting PFOA in cookware and not letting people know, hey, this might cause respiratory issues and cancer. And these are forever chemicals that are never going to go away from our environment, things like that. I also brought suit with a team of lawyers all the time because these are big cases against baby bottle manufacturers for putting BPA in baby bottles and formula can manufacturers for lining their cans with BPA. And at this time, people didn't know what BPA was or bisphenol A. And I also did a lot of tobacco litigation. And so people were very aware at that point, the tobacco. But one of the things I was trying to do is bring these issues to consumer awareness so that they know what they're bringing into their home. And yes, it's convenient, but there's also some negative health effects associated with it that when you're going to Target and buying something off the shelf, you just assume is safe. And so I was trying to hold those companies responsible and make them accountable and really think about the end consumer down the road of what was the end result of their products. While I was doing this type of work, I did have a mysterious illness suddenly, and I my career came to a halt. I could not work. I had brain fog, fatigue, chronic pain everywhere, and was just debilitated. I had broken my ankle backpacking in Shenandoah one weekend, and I've broken bones before. They heal, you do the physical therapy, you're good. And I my bone healed, but my body just just started having breaking down on me, and I had pain everywhere, and I couldn't figure out what is going on. So it took me many years and a lot of mainstream medicine, like you said, they don't know what to do with you. They put all these labels on you, like fibromyalgia, which means we don't know. And also, we don't know how to treat that. And let's treat symptoms instead of finding out the root cause. And let's give you medicine that give you worse side effects than what you're already experiencing. So I did that for a number of years. And then I'm like, forget this. And I went alternative routes. And one, I figured out I had Lyme disease and I had mold toxicity. And I also had something called complex regional pain syndrome. But at the end of the day, like I had a trauma background and my body was just, I was working my ass off as a lawyer, excuse my French. I wasn't doing self care, working all hours, eating lunch at my desk, all that. And with all of that, soup, and then I had the Lyme and the mold and breaking the ankle, my nervous system shut down. And one of the things that can happen with Lyme and mold to begin with for a lot of people is you become hypersensitive to chemicals. And that happened to me. So I was already pretty careful about what I was bringing into my life because I knew that consumer products were rife with all these issues. But I had to be super careful. And even when I was buying clothes at at stores I had previously been buying from, and then I bring them into my house and I had to wash them 20 times before I could put them on my body, not get a headache, sore throat, rashes. And I'm just like, what is going on? And how do I buy clothes? So I had to do a lot of research and I didn't have the bandwidth or the capability to do that either. I was just so sick and I, would have loved for somebody to do that for me. So one of the things that I've done when I got my health back, and I'll talk a little bit more about that part of that journey because that's the best part, obviously. Um, I want to do for people what I wish someone had done for me. One, just like I want to educate people again, still of what is in our products, and then once somebody becomes aware of what's in our products, it can get very overwhelming and frustrating. And so I just am a fairy godmother, and I'm like, yeah, I can do it for you. You don't have to worry about it. And I cut through the greenwashing. There's so many products out there saying like they're clean and eco-friendly, and we can talk more about this later. But
Yeah, I know. We have to put a pin in that because that's like a big thing going on right now.
yeah. So right. So that's what I'm trying to do, want to do, and what I do for my clients. And just imagine, even if someone's not sick, but just had a baby, like clients who want to have or are expecting a baby and have to plan all the baby stuff. And again, the things that they're putting into baby products are not necessarily safe for babies. So I can just give like a whole, here's my non-toxic nursery. One, I have a free guide on my site, but here's my list of products to buy. And I give products through every budget and things like that. So going back to my health part of my journey, I did alternative medicines. An herbal protocol helped me with the Lyme. I moved out of the mold, and then I detoxed with binders and a whole lot of other things. I got SIBO because mold can mess with your gut, so I worked on that, and I got myself healthy enough to have a baby.
Yay.
Yes, that's what kept me going, was this dream of mine to one day have a baby. And I was on my couch for years. I could barely walk. I could drive 10 minutes max. And I'm like, how will I ever be able to take care of another human being? and she's 3.5, and I'm keeping up with her, and she still is really trying. But
It
that's
is a lot. I know.
but
I'm with
and
you.
then and now that I have her and everything I buy, I'm so conscious about what is going in her mouth and what is she crawling on. And I know that people think about this, but just don't have the wherewithal or the time. And I'm trying to make it easier. And at the end of the day, what I would love to have happen is increased consumer demand for the products without the stuff in it. And we'll talk about what the stuff is. And therefore, they'll become more accessible because companies listen to what consumers want because they want to sell you stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I started Natural Haven. And yeah, I'm offering personalized consultations to do this for people.
I love this. I think this is so needed. I think this is like one of the like must have like specialties of the future, like now and onwards, because I mean there's so many things. First off, just to like go back, I like mentally noted so many things from what you went through. But just to go back to your original job and like first of all, clearly like just on a spiritual note, because of course, like my people are very spiritual. Like clearly this was like a part of your soul mission because you're already doing it in one way, right? You already were attracted to this. And I think that's something that I learned earlier on than most because of my own like health journey that I was like forced to learn about stuff like that. But and now it's just like it's amazing to see like over the past like 10 years the evolution of like society, I say as a whole, I think being more conscious of that and realizing not everybody, and it's really frustrating because it's true. It's like you go to Target, right? Like we all do, and we look at the baby section or we look at the makeup section or we buy our shampoo or whatever, and it says like free and clear or whatever, some like seems good words, right? And we assume that it's safe or it wouldn't be on our shelves. And that is, I think that's the sad thing. That's one of the things that like really like my journey was a little bit more food centric than I think home centric, but that's something that always like broke my heart in the food realm too, right? Would be like it wasn't just like the person that's like actively saying like I want to buy Doritos, like that's your choice, go buy the Doritos, right? Nobody's like thinking Doritos is health foods, right? But it breaks my heart for the person that's like buying the like broccoli nuggets for their kids, that they're like, I'm choosing this because I think it's the healthiest thing for my kids and I'm running home from work and I want something them to help some like healthy snack, right? And then they don't know that those broccoli nuggets have all sorts of junk in them, right? And that's the stuff that really breaks my heart too, because it's like it's masquerading as something that it's not. And I even had you brought up the cookware. This blew my mind recently. This was like the past 6 months. I had a company reach out to me to do a promotion for a famous chef's cookware line. And I like, of course, immediately go on the website to like see are they like non-toxic and free of all this. And in my head, I'm just thinking, not that I'm like a famous chef or celebrity or anything, but if I was a famous chef or celebrity, there's no way in this like 2025 I'm having a toxic cookware line, right? And of course it was very strategic, the wording on the website. So I wrote back to the PR person and I was like, hey, I just want to be clear, like, are these free of like this, and this? Because it doesn't really explicitly state on the website, and I'm not going to promote anything that is toxic. And they're like, and again, they wrote me such a carefully crafted response that were like, there have been no evidence saying that, or whatever. And I'm just like, well, thank you, but I'm not interested. But it's just crazy how we are being kind of like tricked and deceived in so many ways. And that's why I think there really is a need for someone like you to really like demystify it, because I think about, for myself as someone that has a little bit more skin in the game, that as far as like going on the health journey and always being really sensitive and not being able to use certain things or never really being able to wear makeup that was not regular makeup, right? Like I've had like so many people have looked at some of those struggles for me and been like, "Oh, I feel so bad for you. You have to live this such like special snowflake life from like my early 20s." And I'm like, "This was a blessing. It was a gift." Because my back was against the door. I was like forced to do it at a time where I wasn't like with it enough to probably consciously figure it out on my own, and I just like had to, right? So anyway, so where do we start? Where do we start? So I think first I want to know about, first we'll talk about your, I want to learn a little bit more about your healing specifically, and kind of if there are any things that like stuck out to you that really help like turn corners, or that when you look back, I know that healing is like non-linear and there's so many little things that go into it, but if there are any things that like really stuck out to you that you would want to pass on. And then I want to talk a little bit about what are the like kind of the biggest pitfalls you see people falling into today that are like trying to live the non-toxic thing, and kind of how we can maybe help, open their eyes and like course correct a little bit. And then we'll go through some like basics for like how can we start like detoxing our homes. How does that sound?
All right, good roadmap here. Okay. So I'll talk a little bit more about my healing, and maybe, for your audience, there was absolutely a spiritual component to my healing process, a lot of manifesting and a lot of energy uh, moving and working. And as I mentioned, I had a traumatic background. And so getting my nervous system to calm down was really the number one thing of my healing. And these toxins do put you into fight or flight and activate your sympathetic nervous system. So that's one aspect of it, just making your surrounding safer for you and your body has less to detox. And also just different modalities for me to yeah, again, the Lyme and the mold made my body, the biotoxins, the mycotoxins, again, put my body in fight or flight in combination with the trauma, and getting my body to not react to every little thing as though it was the end of the world. And I did all sorts of like cranial sacral work, acupuncture, Reiki, just a lot of energy work, a lot of reconnecting with my body. I completely disassociated with parts of my body because it was just too in too much pain. And yeah, so getting to know my body, accepting the pain instead of fighting it. And also, my body was so wise. It took me out of a situation that I was not supposed to be in. And in many ways, my like, emotional situation, my support system, my job, it was all just not right for me in that context. The self-care was not there, focusing on myself, and my body's like, no. And we're gonna stick to this until you learn this lesson. And I kept trying to like force it to get better. And it didn't work that way. And your body is so incredibly wise. And I never thought I would get to the point where I am grateful for what I went through, for my body teaching me these lessons. And to this day, it still does. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But okay, I have to tune in. It is so wise. It's incredible. And I know that you do know that very well.
Yeah. Do you have a specific, was there any moments for you where, or like a process or a way that you talk to your body, that you like to talk to your body now? Or is it just like you kind of like use your body's kind of feelings and information that's giving to you as like kind of an intuitive source about like, oh wait, this isn't working, or I need to like pause and like reflect on this?
Yeah, I definitely talk to my body differently. And it's just how you talk to yourself, for one, or how I talk to my daughter, which is always a healing process to reparent yourself when you're having a kid. But before I had a kid, I also wanted to clear out all of this, like the negative energy and emotions that I had from just prior in my life and then from the illness, and really like have that space of hope inside me, especially when she was growing in there. So I just really speak to my body very lovingly, very patiently. Really how I speak to my daughter. And I find myself like ignoring sometimes because look, we all have to get the kids to school and the bills have to get paid off your desk. And like and that school function, whatever, it's like, okay, fine. And I have to, you know, I'm listening. And one of the things I was not doing was processing emotions. And I had actually not really learned how to do that. So I just shoved them down, pushed through. And here's push through. Let's talk about that for a second because when you're in pain and people don't see it, oh, you look fine, or um, oh, well, I got knee surgery and I like just worked through it the whole time and got better and I have a spine. Like, why can't you get off your couch? I am a person. I tried to push through very hard because I went to law school. I had 5 jobs in college. Like, I am a person who works hard and thinks that thought that's how things happen. So I was trying to push through and I was making it worse. And so one, people not getting that pushing through is not the way to heal, and also not getting your reality, and especially with the medical profession, thinking, oh, this is a psychological issue, and this is in your head, or this happens to women all the time, taking years to get diagnosed. It's just that all is kind of crazy making, and when your friends and your family don't get it, and then plus with the pain, like if people are going through health journeys similar to ours, like depression is quite normal. And then how do you heal when you're depressed? You're like, well, it's hopeless, nothing I can do, right? So
And
getting
also, I think a lot of that depression comes from like similar us being, ambitious women that are used to like getting 7,000 things done, had some of our worth connected to the productivity and the success and our intelligence and all those things that we got those like outward things from. And then you get sick and you don't have any of that, or I think part of the reason some of us push is because we're like, no, like that's like the quote unquote, like we're like mice and that's the cheese. We're like, no, I need to get the cheese. I can't not get the cheese, right? And so we push because there's no, our society, and it's reflected often in like friends, family, community. That's like, you're sleeping all day, right? Really? Like, um, but yeah, it's so true. And I love that you handled your inner world toxicity, you know,
yeah.
and then worked your way outward, because I think that's one of the things, like, while I agree with you, it is important for us to like be conscious of like what we're putting in our bodies, on our bodies, in our homes, and all of that, and it's more and more necessary than ever, I think, now. But if we're doing all of that and we're like still letting these like kind of toxic behaviors happen internally, where we're not like feeling our emotions, or we can't honor our body's need for rest or to go slow or whatever it's telling us it needs, right? Then it's like you can have the most like gorgeous non-toxic house in the world and you'll probably still stay sick, you know.
Yeah. No, it's hand in hand, and it you can't just do one without the other. Just like eating and exercising and getting out in fresh air and sunlight. It's a full picture, of course, and those equally like helped me heal. And I would say that when I'm like saying, oh, doctors are saying it's like in your head and it's psychological. Well, to some extent, it was, because again, I was in fight or flight, and I wasn't calming down my nervous system. But there were also like, oh, it then wasn't making ATP, which gives you energy. Like, then these affect your physiological processes. And so it was like the lime was then making the system stop, and then holding myself tight and pushing further wasn't helping, was making the system stop. So it's all interconnected, and that's why it can take forever to unravel it and get out of the hole. But I really do, part of my journey is I want to tell people that you can get out of the hole, and you can get it out of it without the normal mainstream medicine. And I want to give people hope. I don't want to sound Pollyanna, but there really is a silver lining to like every hardship that I've had in my life. There's always a silver lining.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm doing with Natural Haven,
Exactly, right? This is like what pushed you on your path and got you to be this lighthouse for others through going through it yourself and being able to really like sympathize with your clients because you're like, I know what it's like to be that person that's barely able to get off her couch and then feel like she has to like detox her whole house.
Yeah.
Okay, like how's that going to happen, right? When she needs that to help give her the environment so that she is laying on that couch or wearing those pajamas or laying on that pillow to make sure it's not hurting her more,
Yeah.
right? Because of what the chemicals or whatever that are in it. But I want to go back. You did mention, I think it's a huge, another like really important thing that needs to be talked about is the connection between our nervous system regulation and some of these sensitivities,
Mhm.
and how they go hand in hand. Because I do think that we're seeing more and more people become more and more sensitive because we're also seeing more and more people's nervous system become more and more dysregulated.
Mhm.
And it's something that um, I don't think we talk about enough. I'm curious. I know you mentioned acupuncture, Reiki, cranial sacral therapy. For me, I did a lot of EMDR work with a therapist, and like I had started that to work through some trauma, but I kept going. As we continued, and I saw such shifts, also because of how much it helped regulate my nervous system,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Do you right now, let's say like in your maintenance phase, do you have certain like tools that you come back to, whether it's daily or weekly or monthly, that are your kind of like, when life gets crazy, because it always does, right? When you have a lot of things going on that you like help regulate yourself?
Yes, and then I want to talk about like what are these chemicals and what the effects are and things like that. So I do regularly acupuncture, lymphatic massage. I do all these, kind of things that sound like, oh, what a lovely life you have. But I have found like my body just conks out on me and it starts dragging and I'm aching if I don't keep up with clearing out my system, making sure my cheese moving, things like that. What else do I do? Walking, and I do grounding, just sitting in grass, getting sunshine. There's remarkable studies on there out there about how just sunshine is healing, uh, and sleep. I would When I was sick, I was in so much pain. I didn't sleep for years. And then one of the things that helped me was cannabis, and I would take it at night, and I would sleep. And you need sleep to heal. So I'm very pretty adamant about getting sleep. And when I'm not getting enough, uh, then I get my kids' preschool germs. I get all, and then I start dragging again. My body needs a lot of sleep, which I find frustrating, but it does. So, and it knows best, we've learned. So, that's what I'm doing. And so then I have less hours in the day to do all the other stuff, unfortunately. But I feel great when I'm, getting sleep. So that's another one of my go-tos. I'm gonna talk
And
about.
yeah. And I was just gonna say, like, kind of going hand in hand with the sleep and the other things you do for well care. Was there anything food wise or supplement wise that you now have incorporated since having this journey?
Oh, absolutely. Wow. I did when I got sick, did a bunch of elimination diets at first and like thought maybe that would solve everything. it didn't. So and I tried like candida and all these things. But I did learn when I added like gluten back in, oh wow, I get achy. And I don't have celiac. And a lot of people are like, oh, gluten's a fad, but no, my system does not like it. And as much as I've bought it, it doesn't like dairy or sugar either. And I get inflammation from those things. And then certain ways of cooking. I really cook everything by myself, for myself. Whole foods. I eat organically, of course, and or regenerative, or just even if it's not certified organic. I know I go to the farmer's market. I know the farmer. I'm lucky to have that where I live. And so I know what's going into my body. And on the occasions when I stray, I really feel it, my whole system. And so while we've been talking about the hypersensitive, the really sick, the people who have these gut issues. And I just think of myself as the canary in the coal mine. So it's happening to me now. It's pretty fast for me. I'm like, oops, sorry. My
You're fine. You're fine.
it's pretty fast for me. And but these things are happening to people long term. Your inflammation is eventually going to lead to some condition, an autoimmune disorder, cancer. Uh, these chemicals lead to, and eating these pesticides, lead to uh, um, fertility issues and heart disease and respiratory disease, like everything that we're seeing in society now at like unprecedented rates and confused by, there's direct correlation. I was recently giving a talk at like a breast cancer support center, and brought like in studies showing how paraben and phthalates in personal care products uh, create cancer-related activities in breast tissue. There are scientific studies, and within a month, 28 days was the time frame of the study.
Wow.
Yeah, they're like BPA and these hormone disruptors. And it takes so little. It's like a drop in a swimming pool affects your hormones, and it leads to an imbalance. It's so little, and so we are coming into contact with them all the time in various aspects. So we are ingesting, inhaling, and absorbing through our skin um, phthalates, parabens, bisphenol A, BPA, or now what they've switched to BPF and BPS, which are doing the same thing, but it says BPA free, and so they just substitute it with that. VOCs, flame retardants, the forever chemical PFAS, which are making things water resistant or non-stick. All of these things are adding up. There are 80 to 90,000 more chemicals in the past 100 years that our bodies, our generational ancient bodies, have not had to process for millennium of existence. And now the bodies are being asked to detox so much more than possibly they can and that they were designed for. And then people, I think of it as like a glass, and all these toxins fill up your glass. And if you are sick or elderly or a baby, you have a smaller glass and it's going to overflow sooner. And if you reduce the toxins in your environment, and then you're exposed to less, your cup isn't overflowing as much. And your cup is, again, your ability, how much can your body detox? And when it does overload, then you get the inflammation, oxidative stress, the hormone imbalance, and then these conditions. So we are bringing these chemicals, often unknowingly, into our home. The EPA has a study saying that our homes are the indoor air quality, not necessarily in homes, but indoor air quality is 2 to 5 times higher levels of the 12 most common organic pollutants than outside. So that means what we're bringing into our home, and the practices we're doing, how we're cooking, what we're cooking on, what we're um, engaging in, that is polluting. We are literally polluting our homes. And you just open your windows to get that outside air, which will help clean it out. But there's so much we can do. Swapping out our cleaning products, one, getting rid of fragrances on every level, cleaning up our air. So, no air fresheners, any fragrance that's in the cleaning products, diffusers, and like what we're shampooing with, like our personal care products, all these uh, and deodorants, all these scents and fragrances are chemicals, and they're like phthalates and parabens typically, and they really do have these health effects that we're talking about. And it's easy to just swap out to non-fragranced or scented products. I like to talk about how, like, my grandmother used to clean her house: vinegar, baking soda. I use Castile soap, and I also have a lot of tips on my website and like free guides to tell people like what to switch to. And you maybe use a little more elbow grease. These they clean so well, just like the other ones, or the thing that is blue in the bottle that you're spraying. They're clean and safe to have around your kids, and get the job done. And also, they're cheaper.
Right? I know. I think we've been using vinegar and baking soda for a while, but it is funny because it's like, when we have had like a cleaning lady I got postpartum to come help me out. And of course, they come with all their stuff. And I was like, oh no, like, here we have like our stuff that you can use. And she was like, oh my God, this works just as good. And I'm like, yeah. And like, to buy vinegar, like we actually it's like it is like a spray. It's like vinegar, but it's like meant for people that use vinegar to like clean, like you would clean like your counter or whatever, not just for cooking. Um and yeah, it's like sometimes I think you brought this up in, the few times we were talking about other things, but I think one of the things that's important to stress is that I know sometimes looking at this like lifestyle, you can be like, oh, well, isn't it expensive to have to get, acupuncture or lymphatic massage or buy all organic or buy this cookware and stuff like that. But then, I think we're forgetting like how expensive it is to be sick,
Hmm. Right.
right?
And
How
I'm definitely
expensive.
not advocating for everybody to go out and do those things, but maybe try some, especially if they're having some health issues. But these, yeah, getting sick, those health bills and the doctor and the physical therapy, and uh, that does add up. And the medications, and then the medications are making you sicker. So this is a long-term investment.
Yeah.
And a lot of, like, the products that I talk about are also long-term investments because they last longer. So when you're buying a bookcase made out of MDF or particle board, or a changing table for a nursery, uh, not that you need the changing table to last long, actually, but these products, they fall apart within 3 years. And if you're getting solid wood that doesn't have formaldehyde off-gassing adhesives, they are going to last. Again, like what your grandmother probably had in her house could have been passed down to you. These products last longer, so you don't have to keep buying it over and over again. And that's what the expense typically is. And um, other ways to,
Where would you suggest someone start, right? Like if someone's listening to this and they're like, where do I begin? What do you think are like you I love that you said like the get scents out of your house, right? Like get like any air fresheners, scented candles, scented whatever, like cleaning or personal care products. Let's get them out. That's like a great easy thing
yeah,
anybody can do right now. Next time you have to go fill up, just buy the unscented version of whatever it is. What's another few things like that we can like just start like getting some momentum and moving in the right direction?
yeah. So again, still on the air, cleaning up your air, having an air purifier with a HEPA filter, running it all the time. I pump it up when I leave my house and have it on low when I'm at home just because mine's a little noisy. But so cleaning up your air, but and without these fragrances and ventilating your living space, opening up your windows and doors when you're cooking, especially if you have gas appliances, turning on your exhaust fan. And there's so much that's being off gassed by the gas. So capturing that gas in your exhaust fan, opening the windows and doors, and having an air purifier running while you're cooking, that would help a lot. Other things that I really talk with my clients about, like tackling categories and taking it. We go room by room a lot of the time. So back room, we'll just do your personal care products and like let that be your project and just do it when you run out of that toothpaste tube or that shampoo bottle. Let's replace it with the one. Yes, you can do just fragrance free, but also, if you could also do paraben and phthalate free and just getting some of these more removed out of there. So like one by one with the products, and then go to another room and then do your cleaning products with your kitchen. And, if you're moving to the bedroom, changing your sheets, maybe having a big purchase, one or two big purchases a year, if that's possible. Your mattress, if it's made out of synthetic memory foam, is off gassing VOCs, formaldehyde while you sleep, and you're breathing that in. So a mattress out of natural materials like cotton, wool, those are so much better for you. They're better for the environment because mattress is ultimately going to be in our soil in a landfill. There are Memorial Day sales and different sales throughout the year on mattresses. So think timing it like that. And again, this mattress is probably going to last you longer than the saggy memory foam ultimately. So there's value. And my number one, or my top three, are cleaning out your air, switching your cookware, and switching over from plastic. So cookware, stainless steel, cast iron, slowly replacing it, and getting rid of your nonstick. And I know it's convenient, and a lot of these are convenient. The water resistant, the nonstick, the stainless steel, it is convenience. That's how it's being sold to us. That's how we got dependent on them. Use a stainless steel scrubber on stainless steel pans, just a little more elbow grease. There are a lot of different ways of cooking with stainless steel so that it won't stick. And YouTube has a lot of instructional videos on that. And then with your plastic cutting board, and you're getting the microplastics in what you're cooking or what you're storing your food in, your Tupperware, and what your kid is bringing their lunch to school in, Ziploc bags, switching over to the silicone bags, and especially if people are using these for hot foods, and I wouldn't recommend using silicone for hot. I only use it for cold. But if you're heating up plastic in the microwave that is likely leaching into your food, the BPA or now BPF, BPS, whatever it is, and slowly switching over to glass container set. They have them, in sets, and again, sales, Costco, things like that. They're available. So again, categories slowly. Um, I I emphasize all the time, we are not aiming for perfection. I am not perfect. It will make you crazy. So I do 80/20. And, I let my daughter have this tutu or paint her nails every once in a while, but with like my approved nail polish. But, you living in society, you want to have a life and, also not spend your life doing this. So doing the best you can is going to make such a difference. Just little bits are going to move the needle and improve your long-term health options.
So I love that, and I love that those are some great like big things to kind of like go through your home and start shifting and start. I love the idea of like just make it a thing that when next time you go to the store and you're like, I have to fill up on this and this, I'm just gonna get a different version. But in that regard, so like let's say our shampoo is done, our dish soap is done, like whatever. We got some things that we're going to buy at Target or wherever we go to buy things like that, or on Amazon or whatever. What are how does someone know like what is truly non-toxic? Because I feel like I remember like in the food movement when I was like really heavy into that, right now like I am a stickler. I am as like a food, probably the food version of what you are you do, right? I'm always like looking at the back because I don't trust anyone. And I'm looking for like, does it have the organic certification? Does it have a non-GMO certification? Like what's in here, what's not in here? Does it have any like, weird numbers or whatever things that they're trying to stick in there? I think now, like we had spoken about, I think there is a lot of greenwashing, right? And similar to like how if you notice, if you like go to the grocery store, you'll see like, um, go green crackers or whatever. I'm making it up, right? And it'll have like all these like beautiful, like beige and leaves and things that make you feel like it's got to be healthy, right? But then you look at it and you're like, oh, they're saying all natural, but it's not really organic. But actually, they don't need any qualifications to call it all natural, right? So it's like the Wild West that could be in this product. I'm sure it's the same way now in the non-toxic world. So are there certain things that, like when you're buying something online or you're in the store, that you like look for like certain words or, stamps of approval, so to speak, to be like, this is a generally clean product?
Yeah. So one, I want to go back to something we were talking about earlier, and then I want to address this really important question. When we were talking, yeah, again, this is for everybody's health, not just like babies and people who are sick and chronically ill. Like just doing these little things can help everybody, and especially with the foods as you're talking about too. So. Uh, I would love to mention in the food space where again, I do, whole foods and organic, but the more processed a food is, that the more it's come into contact with plastic um, mixing and plastic containers, and it's got more phthalates. They have studies showing like the beginning of a product and the end of the product and in the packaging at the end, it has higher levels of these chemicals too. Even just like, the organic broccoli nugget you're talking about has now gone through that whole process and also has a bunch of other crap added to it, but it has these chemicals in it too. So there is that aspect for another reason to trying to eat whole, healthy foods. And then, right. So here's the problem. Companies are on to us. They know that this is what we want. So instead of giving it to us, they're taking the easy way out and they're saying, hey, look, we're doing this thing. It's green, eco-friendly, natural, non-toxic, clean, all the labels, which mean nothing. And so it's weird even calling myself a non-toxic living consultant, that I don't know what else to do because like, you know, I'm just using one of those words, right? uh, and to that end, I did want to mention, I don't associate myself with any brands, and I'm not affiliated with any brands because of my attorney background. I don't want a conflict of interest, and I really want people to trust that my uh, um, recommendations are genuine and I'm not like getting a kickback from it. And then also like you find a product, we talked about this earlier, and then they change the formula on you. And so if I recommend something and then it's changed, like every time before I give it to a recommendation to a client, I double check, or they got bought out by a big company and they were doing the right thing the first time and then now they're not. And so yeah, brands, it's hard to know just by trusting a brand. And you asked me like what are kind of the pitfalls, and that's one of the things people are like, oh, this brand, not going to call out some brands, but this brand, as I used to know it, so as being eco-friendly and safe or whatever, so it must be now. And that's a pitfall because a lot of them are not. And they did get bought out by bigger companies or changed and got watered down with their ethos. How do you find these products? Right. So I do a ton of research and it's all like science based and really every single thing I'm looking at. And unfortunately, that's kind of what's required in this day and age. Looking at the company, like frequently asked questions page, the product description, their about page, if they're saying that they have these qualities, the companies that are actually doing this are going to give you details. Here is how we're accomplishing this. Here are the incredible attributes of our product. This is why it sets us apart without vague generalities. And also, as you mentioned, there are some certifications that will give you an idea of how serious a company is taking your health. So there's Ocotex and Green Guard, and these have filtered out or tested the product for like 100 or a couple thousand of chemicals, mainstream chemicals. So those are some good like shortcuts, like looking for those certifications. There's um, FSC, which is Forest Stewardship Council, which will tell you like that company is pretty serious about the quality of its materials, and GOTS, the Global Organic Textile Standard. Those are some certifications to look out for. They don't solve the problem. They're really typically just talking about one attribute, or they've still got some other issues with them. A lot of time, they still have like particle board in them if you're looking at like some furniture from a major like retailer. But at least I know that they've tested it for off gassing. It's better. And that's what we're aiming for too. Again, along the perfection line, better, not best, not 100% again, just better. So these certifications do help with that. And then, of course, if you don't want to deal with the stress of this and you want somebody else to do it for you, you can hire someone like me and do it for you. And I, again, like to be like fairy godmother and just say here. And I look at like your preferences, aesthetics, uh, maybe if you have some allergies, some things you need to stay away from. Everything's very tailored to your budget. Um, Everything when I give recommendations to my clients. And I'll just talk about my services for a second.
Yeah.
So I offer personal consultations where I do like an in-home assessment or virtual assessment of whatever products you want to be concentrating on, or I can like help guide you of what might be the biggest bang for your buck. And then we go through that, and then I research the products to make sure, oh, I think that's problematic, and then I go back with my recommendations. Like I give you a whole report and product links and why this is good and you have different options, budget options, and all things like that. So I just save you all the time, frustration, peace of mind. It's done. And I love doing this. So, and then I offer a initial consultation for free just so we can chat and see if I can help you. So you can find that on my website. Might have even given you the link.
Yeah, it'll all be below wherever you're watching or listening to this. You'll have the links for all of that.
I have some downloadable free guides on my website. I do a lot of tips on Instagram, things like that. So that is another way that you can just clean up some products in your life.
And I think that that's also just like it's great. It's a great like this is like a big kind of like ocean to dive into, and it's a great way to, just kick things off and have that support and kind of be like, okay, like what are the top things that I can just like adjust right now and like get that going. And I think, start, grab those free guides, take some of the advice that you said here. Like I also agree, like everybody needs an air purifier these days, right? Get yourself a HEPA air purifier, go through like the scents in your house, start going through. I love what you brought up. That was I think that's so helpful and such a hot tip that I didn't even think of about the companies that are really doing the work. Because again, it's funny, I keep on like mirroring this to like food, but like one of the things that I always tell people, because my husband is like a winner at this. Like he loves like, oh, I want it grass fed. Like he's like, if you've ever watched the SNL skit of like Portlandia when they're like, who touched these grapes? You know, what river, what did the trout, like this is my husband at a restaurant and I just want to like die. And I try to tell him and other people that if someone hand fished that trout from a local river, you best believe that will be spelled out on the menu, right? It will be spelled out. There is no way they will not tell you if they have grass-fed, grass-finished beef. There are no way they will tell you if their vegetables aren't, they will not tell you if their vegetables are organic. Why? Because if they're paying a premium for it, right? If they're going out of their way to make sure that you're not just getting a salad, you're getting an organic salad, right? They're going to put that. And you'll notice a lot of like, if you go to some cool farm to table places, they'll be like, this is from like John Smith's farm down the road or whatever. And it was grown, you know, with love, right? It's like, they're going to add that because they want you to see the value so that if you're like, wow, I could get a salad for $12 at McDonald's, but I'm going to spend $28 at this restaurant. This is why, right? And so I think that's something I had not even thought of when it comes to, you know, house and personal care products. That's like, first of all, if they're going through the trouble of advertising themselves as non-toxic or whatnot, okay, that's like the first hurdle you jump, right? Because there's no way, and this is like another thing that sometimes you don't think about, but can be tricky. There's no way someone would create a non-toxic product and not tell you it's non-toxic, right? Like there's no like sleepers products that are just like happen to be not right, because if they're going through the effort to make sure that this product doesn't have the parabens and doesn't have the phthalates and isn't made with BPA and da da da, they're going to sing it from the rooftops, because that was a lot of extra money and effort and like corporate decisions probably to make that happen. So that's just a great like barometer. Like if this is a company that seems to be all about, you know, non-toxic living, it's in its mission, and you can either do, you know, a quick website search, or maybe on some of them it might even be on the label kind of talking about like what their values are as a company. It's a great way to just like begin, start there.
I even email them for clarification too, or a lot of times I email them, and sometimes like, you know, maybe their marketing person didn't fully understand, and so it's a little confusing. Wait, does this have, you know, does this have PFAS in it or whatever? Just to clarify. And so a lot of times, either I get back a very great response or that vague response that you mentioned earlier. So that's another thing you can do to find out, you know, suss out the product. But again, this is, you know, take some time and some
Yeah.
thought. So
It does take a lot of time, and so I'm so great that, you know, you are offering these services, and I feel like I'm manifesting a book for you because I feel like you need to write a book. I want to read your book, so let's call it in.
yeah,
um,
definitely on my radar. Yeah.
and like, you know, that manual is so needed. And, you know, before I let you go, I just also want to like hit home with everyone that, you know, yeah, we both happen to have these like, you know, incidences, health issues and stuff that happened that kind of started us on this journey. But it's just like you said, it's like a tipping point, right? And it's, you know, years of stress. It could be something as simple as, you know, breaking your ankle on a hiking trip or whatnot. Like there's so many like different things that kind of make up these pie nowadays. And even like you said, like pharmaceuticals can be, you know, maybe you need it for whatever the thing is that it's healing, but it's also an extra load on your detox system when you have all of these other things piling up. And so I think, you know, there are so many things that, you know, may be with, you know, feel out of our reach when it comes to, you know, eliminating some of the stacks on the hay pile, so to speak, right? And this is something that is really beautifully within our control. And I also agree, one of the things I always tell people is that we vote with our dollars, right? We vote with our dollars, and we're making a vote for like the future of our world with how we spend our money, because that's what, like you said, that's what the companies are going to follow. They're going to follow the money. And so if everyone's saying, like, you know what, I'm buying the non-toxic clean nail polish or whatnot, guess what? The big brands are going to be like, wow, like we got to get on this train. And then non-toxic nail polish or whatever it is, right, ends up becoming cheaper because it becomes, right? So it's like, that's kind of how this,
Economies of scale. Right. And so we have consumer power. We have tremendous consumer power. And so I think it's about believing in that and then awareness. And every time you add to cart or picking it off the shelf, like making an intentional choice about it, you really are voting with your dollars. Yeah.
yes. Well, thank you so much for being here, Karen. This was a delight. Oh my God, I'm like re-inspired to like re-go through my whole home. And I'm gonna put all the links below. So I highly recommend you guys follow her on Instagram, get a free consultation so you can get like a jump start at this, and download all the free guides so that you can just like start making some slow moves today, because it's not like something that you need to do overnight. You need to spend like a ton of money on. But if we slowly start moving in that direction, you'll start noting the differences immediately, because I don't think a lot of people realize how much this is affecting how they're feeling until they start making these shifts and they're like, oh, wow,
Mhm.
how that was what was causing my headaches this whole time. I thought I was just a headache person, but it was actually the car freshener or whatever, right? So thank you so much, Karen. And like I said, all the links are below. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I know I really did enjoy talking to you, Karen.